In this demonstration video, I'm going to show you how to create value, or lights and darks, with pen and ink. Okay, and so that means you're not using like a piece of charcoal or graphite or chalk or color pencils. You're using pen and ink, something that is sort of permanent. Okay, so I have several different types of pens. I have a Sharpie. We have this one that's called, it's a Stanford micro pen. It's actually pretty nice to write with. Okay, and then I have a Precise V5 extra fine pen. Okay, these are all permanent. I cannot erase with them. Okay, so when you're creating value, you want to create lights and darks with something permanent like this. Okay, something that is not soft. You cannot smudge or blend with your finger, okay, like you normally could with a piece of graphite or whatever you're working with. Okay, so to create value, you have to use other techniques. I'm going to show you a few that are pretty common. Okay, so the first one is called stippling. Stippling is basically a bunch of dots. So what you'll do is you'll just start dabbing your pencil, or your pen, sorry, on the paper, making little dots. You can do stippling with paint, but I think it looks best when you're using a pen. Okay, so you can see all those little dots. To make it darker, you want to make the space in between those dots smaller. Okay, so put more dots in a smaller area. Eventually, if you keep going, where there's less and less space, eventually your paper will turn black. There'll be hardly any space in between those dots. Okay, so stippling is just a bunch of dots. The more space you have in between your dots, the lighter the value. The less space, the darker the value. Okay. The next technique is called hatching. Okay, and hatching is kind of just a bunch of lines, parallel lines. Okay, and it's similar to stippling in that the more space you have in between your lines, the lighter the value. The less space, the darker the value. And these lines are going the same direction. They are parallel. And eventually what you can get is a really dark value if there's less space in between your lines. Okay, so these are parallel lines that have more or less space depending on your value. Okay. The next technique, the third one, is called cross hatching. Okay, it's similar to hatching that it uses lines, but you're kind of making like a checkered board or checkerboard. So you're going to draw some lines going one direction. So maybe I'll have a few that are darker right here. Less space in between the lines. Okay, then you're going to draw lines going the opposite way. So this is kind of going, the lines are kind of going this way. Now I want to do them this way. Okay, and these are parallel lines. You're using kind of parallel and perpendicular lines. This is kind of nice to use when you're using color pencils as well. That's what I like to do because it blends your colors really well. So you can see how it's getting darker right there as more layers are added. Okay, the fourth type of way to make value is called scumbling. Okay, scumbling is kind of just doing little swirls, kind of scribbles. Okay, so you're just kind of swirling your pen around the page, and the more layers you add in one area, the darker it's going to get. Okay, I'm sure you guys have done this on your own paper as well. Okay, this one is more organic, and it's good to use for things that are like lifelike. So maybe like you could make really soft looking hair with this for like a puppy dog. Okay, this is scumbling, or it's kind of like scribbling. And then the last way you can make value is just to create your own. So maybe I want to draw a cube, and instead of using like lines for hatching or cross hatching, I'm going to just use lots of little X's. Okay? And they don't have to be perfect. This is another way to create value without blending or smudging. Okay, and you could do this with literally anything. So maybe your symbol that you're drawing right here is little triangles. Or you could do it with like little smiley faces. Okay, you can make value like this with literally anything. Okay, so in this video I showed you how to create value in pen and ink by first stippling, which is a bunch of dots. Then with hatching, which is parallel lines. Then thirdly, cross hatching, which uses parallel and perpendicular lines. Then the fourth, scumbling or scribbling. And then the last way is just to make your own pattern, make your own design. Okay. The most important thing to know about pen and ink when you are creating value is that the more space in between the lines, dots, shapes, whatever you're doing, the lighter the value. The less space, the darker the value. Hey, I hope this helps you create value when you're drawing.